Hello and welcome to Drummer's Review. I'm Nolly and today we're looking at a Roland TD50KV electronic drum set. Celebrating 20 years of V-drums, the TD50KV is Roland's new flagship model and features the new TD50 drum brain with prismatic sound modeling, as well as a new, more advanced snare and ride cymbal with multi-sensor technology. Included in this pack is pretty much everything you can see. You've got the metal drum rack, 3 toms, snare, 2 crashes, ride, hi-hat, and of course the drum brain. However, not included are the hi-hat and snare stands or a bass drum pedal. The whole TD50KV package comes in at £7,500 RRP with a street price right around 7 grand. Let's listen to a few different sound samples and come back for more discussion afterwards. Our first impressions is that this is a heavy-duty, futuristic-looking bit of kit. It's got a relatively intuitive setup with all the cables being labeled too, so if you've never set up eDrums before, it shouldn't take you too long to figure out. We thought that the metal shells look excellent on this kit, and the snare drum in particular, being a 14-inch size, really resembles an acoustic drum. From a distance, you might well think that it is, in fact, an acoustic drum, just with a mesh head layered on top for triggering purposes. The larger diameter ride and fairly large toms all add towards a kit aesthetic that's certainly approaching that of an acoustic kit. The bass drum pad is very solidly made, it doesn't move around at all, although the feel, as with most electronic drums, is a lot bouncier than that which you get with an acoustic drum. The snare drum is very heavy duty, and with a 14-inch size and triple ply mesh head, it's got much closer to the weight that you expect with a real snare head. The toms feature the Remo-made mesh heads that Roland have been using for a while, It's worth noting that a lot of the users don't realize that these are tensionable in the same way as a standard drum head. So if you find that the feel isn't quite what you're after, you can adjust it to get pretty much any feel you might like. The cymbals, as is normal with electronic drums, feel quite a long way away from the real deal. However, it doesn't take that long playing them before you feel very comfortable. The hi-hat pads, while seeming a long way away from the real deal, still seem to operate surprisingly realistically. And since you use a conventional hi-hat stand, you can dial in the settings to get the feel that you're used to. The preset sound libraries that come with the TD50 have an excellent sound quality, and it is worth noting that they are actual acoustic drum samples. I think a lot of people are under the impression that drum modules have purely synthesized sounds, but that's not the case here. Sitting in the control room, there were certainly moments that I could have been convinced I was listening to a real mic'd up acoustic drum kit in the room next door. As users of electronic drums will know, the sound libraries are massive with a huge amount of variation, far more than we can possibly cover in this review. So what we've done here is kept things simple and stuck to a few of the standout presets that come loaded on the TD50 brain. Throughout the library, the sounds are hugely customizable using the TD50. Parameters such as tuning, head type, muffling, overtone adjustment, microphone placement, snare wire type, even the sympathetic resonance and thickness of your cymbals are all adjustable through the menu on the TD50. Obviously, this presents a huge amount of tweakability to users, so if you're the kind of person that likes to spend weeks toying around with your sound, you've certainly got a lot of options to play with here. With zero adjustment, we were very impressed with this kit and the TD50 drum brain in terms of triggering. There was no double or false triggering going on here, and especially that snare and ride respond in a way that I haven't experienced with an electronic drum kit before. One of the really neat touches with the multi-sensor technology is the snare can tell if you place your hand on the head, which means that you can get a cross-stick sound without having to sacrifice the rim shot, which is often the case with electronic snare drums up till this point. We did note that the toms do still have a bit of that machine gunny sound that you get with a lot of electronic drum kits. It's a bit of a shame to hear that because it tends to be a dead giveaway and you know that you're hearing an electronic drum kit at that point. However, I'm sure the technology on the snare and ride are going to filter down to the toms with time, and very soon I'm sure we're going to have electronic drum kits that trigger very naturally across the whole set. The TD50 does allow you to load your own samples on board. However, it's worth noting that these are limited to one-shot samples with no dynamic variation, so you're almost certainly going to want to blend them with Roland's own samples if you want a decent velocity-sensitive output. If you're interested to know more about the TD50's functionality, Roland has some very good tutorial videos where you can see everything it can do in a huge amount of detail. There's quite a few neat touches we really like with this kit. One of them is that the wiring loom actually runs through the rack, so your wires are generally kept out of view. It's definitely something that makes the kit look a lot neater. We also like the fact that you have the option of mounting the toms with a Pearl-style mounting system. This could be something that's very useful for those of you out there who are incorporating pads alongside acoustic drums for a hybrid setup. One small feature that could have huge time-saving repercussions is the inclusion of an undo button on the drum brain, allowing you to step back through the last step that you just made. I think a lot of users will be familiar with the concept of having to do a full factory reset if you get lost with some of the adjustments you've made to your kit. So this little button might save you a lot of time and headaches during editing. Those of you recording with this kit might want to take advantage of the fact that it has a USB direct output too, with 10 channels of recording so that you can mix in a fair amount of detail after the fact. At £7,000, the TD50KV is a pretty huge investment, and it is worth saying that with electronic drums, the speed at which the technology is advancing, you might well find that it's obsolete in just a few years' time. But that said, you do get a fair amount for your money with this package, and it's certainly very well put together both mechanically and technologically. At this price point, we mainly see the TD50KV appealing to professional drummers who need a non-acoustic solution for playing at home, for practicing, recording, or even performing. It would also appeal to players who are looking to incorporate pads into their acoustic setup to create a hybrid solution, studio owners and producers who work regularly with electronic drum sounds, or simply enthusiasts who want the best they can get and for whom cost is not an issue. It's worth mentioning that with time, it's possible that a lot of these features will filter down through the V-Drums range, so you can probably expect to see many of these features on more affordable V-Drum kits in the future. So to conclude, this is certainly a beast of a kit with a ton of tweakability and great sounds. That price is definitely going to be a sticking point for many people out there. However, that is simply the cost of developing cutting-edge technology in this day and age. We hope you've enjoyed seeing this review of the Roland TD50KV. Definitely leave us comments and subscribe for more reviews, and I will see you next time at Drummers Review.